How have injuries and other things been affecting what you want to do up front?
Yeah, I think consistency. Internally, Jamari and Chidozie have been, two of our best interior D linemen, and they've been in and out of the lineup. Dot's really struggled, hasn't played much this year, so still working with that with him. Jamari's been limited, but he's been very productive for us the last couple games in his limited role. He's playing with the cast on. Brandon Mack is out for the year. We were excited about him. He gave us some quality reps early on. And, some other couple guys in there dinged up. So, we're going to play who we got, coach who we got, and, hope for a speedy recovery for all the guys who aren't in there right now.
When you say struggled, Chidozie struggled, what do you mean by that?
Just with injury. He's a 4-year starter. He plays blocks, he's active, he's very difficult for opponents to deal with, brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of passion and physicality to our front. And he's been the one mainstay staple here for 4 years, and we're still excited to get him back. And so, some of those things linger with injury, so he's doing a really good job of pushing himself, but hasn't been available the last couple weeks.
When you start dealing with ankles at that position, you push it off so much. I mean, is that just not a lot you can do? I mean, you sort of have to let the thing heal, and then.
Yeah, only thing that really helps that is time, especially in his position. He plays nose, and he plays some 3 technique for us, and taking on double teams with 300-pound guys, 600 pounds of pressure on you is very difficult, and you have to have that stability to really be able to anchor down and play blocks, and that's really one of his greatest strengths is being able to play double teams and be dominant versus single blocks, and he hasn't been able to do that. So we want to make sure that he gets healthy so he could be as good as he can be for our team, and to make sure we're putting him in the best position for him for the future.
You've had guys like Hakeem come in and get a lot of playing time, but just the guys that have had to replace Chidozie and Jamar, how have you felt? They've kind of come in and.
Yeah, Hakeem's done a really good job in his role. We've kind of been by committee at the position. Hakeem's gotten the start. He's been around here for a long time, understands the scheme. Awesome story. Started as a walk-on here, has developed a role, has become a starter in Dot's absence or Chidozie's absence. And then Asi is a guy that we've been developing, big physical guy that continues to get better the more that he plays. And then we played the freshman, Justin Benton, in there a little bit as well, who gave us a couple snaps last week in his first action of the season. And he's coming off an injury as well.
What do you, just looking at Texas Tech, how do you say, is it Shut. I'm sorry, Shut.
Yeah.
With him not in there, Dana was saying that it looked like they ran him a lot more versus Barron being more of a, drop back, stay in the pocket, gunslinger.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of differences in how you have to prepare now that you know who's in and who's out over there?
Yeah, I think it all starts with their offensive coordinator, their offensive staff. I think they do a really good job. They play with tempo, a bunch of formation variations. So you have a lot to deal with regardless of who's at the quarterback. I think they're both very talented, but I do think that he ran very effectively in the quarterback run game and extending plays. I think Morton is very talented. He just doesn't have the experience and the reps, to be able to see as much from him. But I think from an arm talent and ability standpoint, he's very talented. And I think their offense, I don't know how much it'll change, but I think he's capable of making big plays and getting the distributing involved very well. And he is athletic, so I think he has the ability to run the ball, and you can see that on tape. So I think the preparation is going to be very similar. I think he's probably very excited to play, and he's probably will get all the reps this week. So I'm sure he'll be sharp and ready to go. And they have a package, as far as skill players and running backs that are very talented and explosive that can go the distance. So we have to do a really good job of trying to make sure we do whatever we can do to keep our guys in the right position to not give up explosive plays and those really good athletes they have on the perimeter.
Jamal Morris has been getting more reps, got a start.
Mm-hmm.
What has he shown you? What is different from him from a year ago, perhaps?
Yeah, he's a converted safety. He a local kid who we're proud to have back home. Played in Oklahoma, was recruited there to be a safety. We transitioned him to linebacker. So a lot of it was learning process for him. And, defensively and in our program, every day is competition, and we think competition breeds success. And so him and Cheeks have been in a heated battle, along with a couple other guys at that position. And he consistently has played well and gotten better in his role, and he accepted his role, not only a linebacker, but playing on special teams. And so we gave him the nod, against TCU, and he played the best game that he's played since he's been here. And I thought he did a really good job last week. So we're playing all of those guys in different roles and different positions, but I think, the competition, that he's faced and some of the adversity that he has had to face up until this point to get to where he's at is built a lot of character. He works hard and he spends a lot of time at it, and I think it's really important to him to be a good player, but not only be a good player, but be a good teammate because, oftentimes in competition, the battles get heated, and he did a good job of staying the course and doing everything we asked him to do and supporting his teammates as well. So I'm proud of him and where he's at right now.
Speaking of roles, when you have guys that are out in the secondary, you have Hip, who you move to linebacker, but you can also go back,
Yeah.
nickel, safety. Is that been sort of what y'all looked at with him in terms of if you need him, or would you like to keep him a linebacker?
Well, Hip's got a lot of experience, and the one thing about him is he's very mature. He's been a 3-time team captain, which is very unheard of in college football or any organization. So he's very mature. He's a leader on our team, and he's going to do whatever it takes for us to win football games and for us to be competitive. So he started the year at will linebacker and gave us a bunch of quality reps there. At TCU, he played nickel for most of the game, and last week he started for us at boundary safety where we needed some help, and he started. He's been a 2-year starter at that position as well, so he provides a lot of value, a lot of position versatility, and so we try to put him where we think he needs to be for us to be competitive, and he's done a really good job with that. Never complains. All he does is work, and all he does is lead. So, whatever it is we need him to do for the week, he's going to accept that role and do it to the best of his ability.
Your unit's gotten a lot of takeaways early on. I'm sure it's coach you like that, but in terms of how have you felt about kind of cashing in on those opportunities, getting the ball when you guys need them, and then turning it over to your offensive defense?
Yeah, anytime we have an opportunity to get our offense the ball back, that's the number one goal, is to eliminate points and explosive plays and create turnovers, be physical and play fast. And I think we've emphasized that this year. We've emphasized it all summer, all fall camp. And we have guys who have been in position and are able to make those plays. And Malik's done a really good job in his role. And when he's around the ball, he has a chance to make a play. And then you look at last week, Isaiah Hamilton has really good ball skills, has a couple interceptions on the year. And then, David was able to force a fumble last week, and Jamal picked it up. So, I think that brings energy, it brings unity. It could swing the game in a lot of different ways, and the more effective we could be and effective in the quarterback in creating turnovers, whether that's on the second guy in, on strip attempts, or when the ball's in the air being aggressive and becoming a receiver, we're going to continue to preach those things because it only gives us a better chance to be successful and win football games.
You're still involved with NCAA?
I am.
How is that going, and how in the last 6 months, year, have you worked the preparations to become a head coach?
Yeah, I think part of it for me is not really the avenue of becoming a head coach. Is really to help the people around me. And so we've done a lot of different things, from mock interviews from myself to other people, but also mentorship programs with young coaches, getting people, signed up to learn, to grow. And I think it's about helping people for me more than it is the avenue of becoming a head coach. I'm really just focused on what we're doing here. But I think, there's a great opportunity for minority coaches, to impact young men on every staff. And I think that the more we do together, the better it could be. And we have a lot of people in our organization, on our staff. Archie McDaniel is one of the founders of this particular organization, and then kind of in conjunction with the coalition with Coach Loxley and those guys up there. So just actively just trying to grow and educate each other and continue to get better each and every day.
Did you do the Bill Walsh program with the NFL? Or?
I've never actually done the Bill Walsh. I typically visit one NFL team a year, more professional development, to help myself grow and help our players and see what we could take from that, because the college game is changing so much with the different practice schedules, walkthroughs, and less contact. So always trying to find a way to grow personally. But most of it is just, professional develop on every side, whether it's the MCAA, the coalition, visiting other teams, is just being a life learner and continue to trying to grow as much as I can.
How does the practice schedule changes, like more walkthroughs, less tackling? How does that affect the defense, or how does it affect you preparing?
Well, I think a lot of, being good at tackling and having physicality is a mindset. And a lot of that comes within recruiting as well. Having capable players that have the right mindset of physicality and they want to play at that level. And I think as you look at college football, and especially in the Big 12 and some of the opponents that we face, the tempo of the game and the speed of the game, a lot of that has to do with alignment, assignment, and playing the right technique. So walkthroughs and practice time are extremely valuable based off of, what to do and why it's important to do it that way. And you always have to find a way to evolve. And, practice used to be a bloodbath every day, just 5-10 years ago. And now a lot of the game is changed, but so you have to find a way to supplement that. So when you have the opportunities to tackle, or as we call it, thud in practice, we have to be efficient and have your feet and your body in the right position, because you aren't actually taking those guys to the ground. And a lot of that is taught in the film room, and a lot of it is taught in how we rep and do those things in individual periods in practice. And I think second to that, the mental part of that is just as important as the physical. And so you see guys on Sunday, they do this, every day, and they are still capable and willing tacklers on Sunday. So we have to take the same approach as far as, being disciplined in how we practice, but more of all, making sure that we take advantage of those times that we aren't tackling practice to make sure our assignment, alignment, and our technique is right.
How do you find that mentality in the transfer portal? I mean, you get such a small window with those guys. How do you go about identifying that?
Yeah, you really, number one thing we always look for is, do guys love football? I feel like no matter where you're from or what your background is, if you love football, you're going to try to find a way to make anything work for you. And it's going to be very important to you to do all of those things. As coaches, we have to make sure that we're filling needs within the transfer portal. So some of those are maturity or things, like we went out and got David and Malik and Brandon Mack and some older guys who had experience, because that's some of the things that we needed for our team. And then other positions, other things that we did was go out and get guys a position of need. So I think it's a lot of different things, but in those evaluations, you have a short period of time to make a decision, because the market is very competitive for good football players in the portal. So trying to get guys that not only fit from an athletic standpoint, but from a mental makeup standpoint, as well as what fits our team and Coach Holgerson's belief in where we're trying to take this program to.
Doug, there seems to always be a recruiting story for most guys. And there's got to be one when you recruit a guy that's 3 blocks away from here with Isaiah Hamilton.
Yeah.
You don't see that as often, and he's productive. Is there anything that stood out during that process with him?
Yeah, Isaiah is very unique. He's a local product that went to Channelview High School here in Houston, and raised by his family right down the street. He's from the 5th Ward, right down the street, and then he played at TSU. So it doesn't really get any better than that for him as far as family and friends and football. But he went to TSU. He was a receiver, a basketball player, receiver. They kind of transitioned, and Coach Hurst got him over at Channelview. Me and Coach Hurst have a really good relationship and family ties from previous stops. And so we saw him in high school, probably underdeveloped, hadn't played a lot of football until his 11th grade year. Played receiver, then kind of transitioned to being a defensive back. Had a really productive year last year at TSU, where he had 7 picks, and I think he had 3 touchdowns. So the ball is not an issue for him. If he's around the ball, we feel like he can make a play. I think the part of his game that has grown the most is you see him being physical in the run game. So we're excited to have him. I think the sky's the limit. I think he's a big-time football player, and he's one of the most competitive kids that we have on our team that loves to work. He loves to compete, and it's important to him. So he's a very unique story. But I think the more he plays, the more that you'll see production from him. Talent is not an issue for him. We're just kind of, getting his technique and the discipline and learning our scheme and getting him involved. And he's done really good, really fast. So I expect him to continue to get better and provide a lot of value for our football team.
One more. And if I could ask, we're going to talk to Moses here in a little while, just kind of what he's been through, and then sit out last year.
Yeah, Moses is very similar. He's He's a local guy as well from Galveston. Very unique situation for him. Goes to Kilgore, has a very productive career there. We were lucky, to be able to recruit him, and very fortunate to be able to coach him now. But then he had to sit out last year due to academic, technicality as he transferred in, which was very difficult for him, for a kid who loves football and loves to compete. And so the progression for him has been very unique, from him learning from that process of what he needed to do to grow and develop, and then being able to, provide some of his first snaps of his career last week against Sam Houston was in a start. And so not only did he do a really good job in the role that he had for last week as a corner to be able to start, as well as, providing value on special teams. He goes down on the first kickoff of the game and makes a play. And that tells me a lot about players and their willingness to be team players, their willingness to grow and learn, and provide value on special teams. That just tells you he's a good teammate as well. And then go on there and get his first start of his career and be very productive and had a good night.
If I could sneak this in, tackling from week 1 to now, have you felt that that's gotten better, or did you feel, was there a concern early on where?
Yeah, it's always a concern in the first couple games, especially when you play quality opponents. And we started the season out at UTSA. We did miss some open field tackles, and the better the competition, the faster the pace, the more the tempo plays into it. You have to do a really good job of being disciplined and technique, especially in open field tackling. As our competition continues to increase this week with Texas Tech, the ball is going to be on the perimeter a lot. We have to do a really good job of tackling in space. A lot of that comes with overall athleticism and being in right body position. And then Brooks is a load at running back. And so you have to wrap him up. He's not looking to just run around you. He will run through you. And you see that on tape with several opponents that he's played up until this point. He has a couple of those plays each and every game where he's making people miss an open field, and then he's also running through people and getting really good yards after contact. So that's another emphasis, and that's going to be an emphasis every week, is to play physical and be fast, but finishing plays at the point of attack. How we play blocks and block protection and how we tackle on the perimeter is something that is always going to be an emphasis, and is going to be even bigger challenge this week with the style of offense that they play.